No, 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 no.
I see.
Look, he said UK indeed.
I see. I see.
All right, so I'll mute and then I'll let you continue.
All right.
Just wait like 2 more minutes.
Yeah. We're gonna wait just 1 more
Okay.
minute. What roles do you guys play? Just as a reminder, this session won't be only for support. Obviously, supports are gonna be the most interesting in this, but it helps for anyone, not just support. And the idea is showing you concepts that will probably make you claim quite a lot. So I'm gonna introduce myself while people are joining. In case of you don't know me, I'm Sagittarius. I'm a Challenger player since 2014, 10 years already. And I'm a full-time coach. I do this for a living. I've done around 2,500 sessions so far and some more team sessions as well. I coached Germany Premier League and Collegiate in the USA. I do a lot of these bootcamps here in the server, you can see every week. And we choose some nice topics that everybody will be struggling with and explain them in terms that probably you won't see on YouTube. And the way this session is going to work is I'm going to teach you some theory fundamentals first about the vision and things we're going to see. Then we're going to be drawing some stuff on the map and learning how you should be wording. And then we're going to actually see a replay of a master student that I coached on support. And you will see the main mistakes that everybody does on the support role when wording. And then you will see what you should be doing instead. The reason I chose this replay is because this person is master and he's still doing a lot of these mistakes. So that is a nice thing to watch because I don't want anyone here to think like, well, what I'm going to teach you is only useful if you're like, I don't know, below platinum. That's not the case. It's useful for pretty much everybody. They all do these mistakes. So yeah, if anyone else wants to ask anything, again, you can type it in the chat there. So we will begin now. The first thing I want to begin is some refreshers. I feel like every time I coach somebody, they don't remember the exact numbers of vision stuff. So the basic numbers, let's talk about it first, okay? And then from this, we're going to go into more fun stuff and fun concepts. At the end of the session, I have a segment that is like high-elo versus low-elo. So I'm going to teach you how low-elo players word and how you should be wording instead. In case you're wondering, we will talk about wording spots. This is a question that I get asked all the time, wording spots. But it's not the only thing.
And also, I just wanted to mention that this VOD is a recording of our group coaching we do every month for free on our Discord League Mentor. If you want more content like this, join our Discord. All the links are in the description.
Okay. So some people don't know this, but in case you don't know it, the vision range is actually a stat and it's different for every unit in the game, right? So champions and towers have the biggest vision range in the game, and wards actually have less vision range than a champion. A lot of people don't know that, and they think that, you know, if a minion sees you, therefore, you know, some people think that if you can see a minion, the minion can see you. Or if you can see a ward, the ward can see you. That's actually not the case. Wards and minions have less vision range than champions and towers. So champions and towers, the exact number. Okay. So this is the range of a champion and towers, super minions, etc. Only the inhibitor super minions, okay? Not canon minions. And as you can see, minions have slightly less range than champions. That is why you can actually sneak in the bot lane bush. Have you ever seen when people like sneak on the bot lane bush and it looks like you should be seeing, but you don't? That's why. And then wards have actually way less range than champions and towers. So actually every ward in the game has like almost the same range except the blue one. Okay. So the trinket yellow ward, the support item ward, the pink ward, and the zombie ward, the field 6 effigy, all of them have 900 range, whereas the blue trinket has less range, okay? And then the ghost spore, obviously. So one thing that matters here is that this is really huge because I feel like a lot of lower elo players don't know how to play around enemy vision because they don't know where it ends and what they can see, right? So by the way, if you're wondering, okay, how much is 1350 range? As a comparison, this is 150 more than Ezreal Q max range, okay? So that means that your vision range is a bit more than Ezreal Q. And if you wonder how much is 900 range, well, that is more or less, for example, the Jinx Q auto attack with Robert Fair Cannon, right? That's 900 range. So if you go to the game now, So again, another pro tip that most people don't use regularly is that if you're warding, you gotta try to get your trinket on the range indicator. You can like go to player movement here and just use it on range indicator. So quick quest with indicator, for example, you can try to do that. And the important part is that it will show you, if you do that, you don't see the range of the vision, right? But if you have it on indicator on, you will see the exact range of the vision there. You see that circle around it, that's the vision range, that's 900 range. And what matters about this is that you can use this to know enemy ward vision range, right? So for example, let's say the enemy warded here, and I can't make the enemy ward, but I'm gonna put like, imagine that this is an enemy ward, okay? This is an enemy ward, and I wanna see how long it sees, and I wanna sneak here, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna get seen getting into enemy jungle busting through here, right? Well, it's pretty simple. What you do is you hover your own ward, right? And as you can see, apparently there's like a gap there that they don't see, right? So I can pass there without getting seen, right? A lot of people know this, but a lot of people don't use it in real games, so you should start using this. And this is a good example of how you can actually see more than the word. So look at this, right? If I put a word here, I'm gonna put 3 so this one gets removed. So as you can see, when I get in the bush, I see more, even though I'm in the same place as the word, see? In fact, I'm putting dummies here, and as you can see, an enemy could have sneaked there without getting seen, see? Because the word intentionally doesn't see that far, right? Now, can you make it see that far by wording a bit more on the edge? Yeah, kinda. So you should try to word on the edge. That's why you should always try to word as close to the edge as possible, right? Notice the other thing I'm doing is like I'm not wording here, because you wouldn't see this part of the bush, right? So somebody could sneak there. If I put my words here, I don't see him, right? Yeah, and I would have to get in the bush to see him, right? So this is really important because it will tell you how to start thinking about what the enemy can see. Wording and vision is all about what the enemy can see, not just what you can see, okay? So I wanted to get that out of the way, so you start understanding how much the words can see, okay? And the other numbers that matter is just the cooldowns, okay? So a lot of people don't know this. The cooldown of the words, the yellow trinkets, is based on the average level of all champions in the game, okay? So it's not about time, but kinda is, a weird way of saying time, I guess. And the duration is 90 seconds in level 1, and it goes up to 2 minutes, based on all the average champion level. And the cooldown goes down. So the cooldown at level 1 is gonna be like, what is this, 3.5 minutes? And the cooldown in when everybody's high level is only 2 minutes, okay? So this matters a lot because if you see somebody putting down a ward at level 1, you know that they don't have the ward up for an additional this time, right? Although keep in mind that it probably was reloading already because you have 2 charges. So it's not as easy as you see a ward down and then it's 3 minutes, right? And the support item has actually more duration. So the support item ward is 2.5 minutes, okay? So this is the support item ward and it's always same time. Doesn't scale with level or anything. So this is why it's important to ping words when you see them on the map, because just by seeing the word is kind of like really hard to know how much it's gonna last unless you click it and see a duration. But if you ping it, you will have like a timer that you will see perfectly how long it's gonna last. So then you don't need anything else, okay? So ping every word that you can see. It's really, really important. People don't do this enough, okay? So that's the boring part of the lesson that you gotta get out of the way always. Okay. So we're gonna talk about 2 types of wording today, okay? We're gonna talk about wording in lane, and we're gonna talk about the vision controlling the map. We don't really care about action wording, which would be like, you know, in the middle of a fight, you ward a bush to see who's there. Like, we don't care. Like, that one is not important here. So I wanna talk about lane wording first, okay? Because you will see a lot that you're coaching somebody and they just come to a lane, and the first thing that they do is like, you know, the game starts and they will put a word here at minute like 150, like in the first wave that they push. Or they will put, they're playing mid lane, they push the first 2 waves and they put a word here, right? So this is actually really bad because in lane, you actually have something that we call gank timers, okay? And this is really important. Or another way you can call it is gank windows, okay? So if you ever played jungle, you can't just gank a lane whenever you please, okay? So what it means this in this case is like if you know where the enemy jungle started, which is by the way why you always want to know where the enemy jungle starts, there's usually only 2 or 3 times at which you can get ganked. and you should ward before that and not in other times. It's really important because one thing low elo players do wrong is that remember that when the game begins, right? If we restore this game, by the way, you don't need to ward by a ward level 1, it will appear automatically in your inventory. A lot of people don't know that. So when the game begins level 1, a lot of people will waste their ward during the laning phase pretty bad, right? Like, for example, they will come to a lane and the game begins and they will waste it like at the wrong moment. And remember, if we look at the thing here, how much does it last? 1.5 minutes, right? So a lot of people will do a thing where like they ward, for example, at 150, right? Let's say they ward like now in this bush or whatever. And if you do a math, like in what's that, like in minute 3 and 30, you will not have a ward anymore. But that is exactly one of the gank timers of the game, that you should have a ward, right? So what's the gank timers? It's pretty simple, right? What matters is where the enemy jungle starts, and also it matters how many camps he's gonna do to get the first gank, right? It's only those two factors, okay? So for example, if you're playing, I'm gonna cater this more to support players because a lot of people here are support, as I consider an ADC. So we're gonna talk about bot lane for this one. If you're playing in the bot lane, if the enemy jungle starts bot side, you can literally only get ganked in one timer in the whole laning phase until the first recall. So there's only one time that you care about, which is the third camp into bot lane, right? If the enemy jungle starts here, he can only do 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, or whatever, the 3 camps in bot into bot. He can only do a 3 camp bot. And that is only one timer possible, okay? So this is really important because now you know exactly when to ward. So can anyone type in the chat? Let's see if you know. What is that timer? Like if they do, if I'm starting here, right? The enemy jungle starting blue buff. What is the only timer that he can gank you then? The 3 camp bot. 200 is way too early, right? So see, that's 230. So you're right about 230, guys, but 230, if they do like normal standard thing, like they do this camp, and then they do this camp, and then they do this camp, and then they can bot lane from here. The thing is, you gotta understand something, okay? Junglers usually, when they full clear, junglers cross the mid lane into the other half of the map at 230. So it would be kind of impossible to gank you at 233 camp in this case. It would be more like 35 to 45. Okay, that's the window. Why is it a window like this? It's because it depends on the clear speed of the person, the elo that you're playing. Like, lower elo people clear slower, right? So this is the only gank window that you can get ganked if you're in this side of the map, right? And the enemy star bot. So you know what this means? If this gank window passed and you didn't get ganked, you can do whatever you want with your ward. Or you can ward, like for example, in the Scuttle Crab for when he goes Scuttle after, right? And save it for that. And you're totally safe playing safely, right? Now, what happens if the enemy jungle starts? By the way, you shouldn't ward 235, right? You should ward before that. So by the time 235 comes, you're already safe. So when should we ward? Well, 230 is a cannon wave. This is cannon wave. So usually you would push the second wave a little bit and then ward it before the cannon wave comes, and usually you would be crushing the second wave at 220. And I know this is boring numbers to remember, but the thing is, a lot of people improvise every game as if they're seeing new things every game, whereas in League it's like the same thing over and over. So if you just learn these numbers, it's like a hack because nobody's even thinking about it, right? Now, what happens if the enemy jungle starts in the other side of the map? Now we have 2 timers instead of 1, right? So if the enemy jungle starts in the other side of the map, they can do like 3 camps, then skip everything and come. Or they can do full clear, like all 6 camps and come. Or sometimes, rarely, they can do like 3 camps, 1 more, and then gank. So usually you would ward a bit later, right? Because the time it takes them for ganking from here to here is more than from here to here, right? So you would put the ward down. If the enemy starts in top side, you would only put the ward down around 240 to 45 onwards, right? So if the enemy starts in your side of the lane, you only need to ward around 220. If the enemy starts in the opposite side of the lane, like in the opposite lane, you can ward 240 onwards, right? You can never get ganked before that unless, again, everybody says like, oh, what if it's Shaco? Okay, sure. If it's Shaco, you can ward earlier, right? So if I'm playing against a Nunu, I'm gonna ward much earlier and probably even deeper, right? So if I'm playing against Nunu, you can ward like super deep into this bush and super early, right? Yeah, Cannon Wave. So somebody's asking basically before Cannon Wave or after Cannon Wave, depending on where the jungle starts. Yeah, that's pretty much correct, right? So now you know, because a lot of people will do this very wrong. So for example, a lot of low elo players will ward in the first or second wave, even if the enemy jungle can't come. And then a lot of low elo players will ward after the cannon wave when the jungle's in their side of the map. So that's really bad, right? If you know the gank windows, then it's super easy to ward. And I didn't mention, okay, what happens if it's a full clear jungler, okay? Let's say you're playing against Nocturne, or like any full clear junglers, right? You're playing against Ivana, Master E. It's very likely that the guy's gonna full clear. So, what's a full clear gank timer? Well, if the guy started in your side of the lane, it's like you don't need to worry about it, right? So if the guy started in bot lane and he's gonna full clear to top, he can only come after like, scuttle, grab recall, and then go bot again, which is like, 415 or so. And if the guy started in the opposite side of the lane and does this into bot, then the full clear is gonna be like 335 or so, because he's gonna finish around 320 and then he has to walk bot. So these are the two windows, right? If they full clear, depending on, again, what side of the map they start. But personally, at this point, I would just worry about warding deep or the scuttle. But yeah, those are the timers. Now, what about ward spots? So let's start with mid lane, right? The best ward spots in mid lane is like, you shouldn't ward these bushes here. Like low elo players love warding these bushes a lot. You only ward these bushes if you're like losing the lane kind of, or if the enemy is pushing into you. Because one thing about lane warding that you need to understand is you need tempo. What do I mean by that? Anytime you leave your lane to ward, you're not in the lane, so you risk missing minions, right? So there's two ways around this. Either ward really close to you and then come back, so this ward is really close to you, you won't lose any minions. Or if you have prio and you can push, then you can push a wave or whatever, get some prio, and then you can go deep ward, which is way better, right? So that's why usually you will see this ward here if you're like farther behind in the game. You're like getting pushed into, so like let's say you're melee versus ranged, you will ward like this more often. It would be very hard if you're playing like a Kali to go deep ward here unless you kill the enemy or something, right? But yeah, these wards are inferior, right? So why are they inferior? Because you will see the enemy later into the gank, and you only see the gank. So usually we want to put down wards that see more than one thing, right? So notice that this ward here doesn't see the enemy doing scuttle. It doesn't see the enemy crossing into the topside area. It doesn't see this passage. It doesn't see raptors. It only sees this gank and pretty much nothing else. It doesn't see the invade either. But if we put the ward a bit deeper in the entrances in any place around here, it will see the same gank, but it also will see much more, which is like, it will also see them passing through here. It will see them going here, going scuttle, right? So ideally, if you can push the wave a little bit, then you can ward deeper. And a lot of people ask me, okay, what's the exact spot you want to ward? And at that point, it depends on game state, right? So for example, if the enemy started bot side, I'd rather you ward closer to the raptors, like this one. So this one will see them doing raptors, okay? Because you will see them being pulled away, this one. Whereas if you know that the enemy already didn't take raptors or whatever, you can ward closer to you. But I would say there seeing the raptors is probably the best thing you can do. So you can see raptors as well as everything else. I'm going to teach you way better ones soon, but this is laning words. When I teach you map control words, it's going to be more, okay? And in the bot side, it's kind of the same, right? So if you're a bit behind as a mid laner and you can't push a lot, you're going to have to ward closer to you, so around this spot here. But if you're winning a bit more, you can ward a bit deeper. And be careful with this one, because some people would like to ward like this, push inside like this. But it's not ideal because you won't see the roam of the support going mid lane here. So if the support goes mid lane with a roam here, as you can see, or if the jungle comes through bot lane and that's Kyle into mid, you won't see him. As you can see, look at this. You see how there's a whole passage here that you're not seeing into mid lane, right? So usually this ward deep is more like for the support to use. The mid laner wants to ward a bit closer to a mid lane, so you see the passage into mid lane, right? So the mid laner prefers to ward like this one or this one. So this one will see way more passages into mid lane, and it has no blind spot. And this one is more defensive if you're pushed into your tower, right? So you will see also the invades, etc. But this one here is much better for mid laners than this one. Because you're blind on this spot and they can gank you from behind if you ward here, right? So it's really dangerous. So now we're going to support stuff in the lane. So what matters for support is like, again, a lot of warding in the lane is related to how far ahead or behind you are, okay? So if you're losing, you're gonna have to push your lines of vision closer to your side of the map. I'm gonna explain this in a bit. But that's very important. Like if you're losing, you simply can't ward very deep. That's how it works. Somebody's requesting to Jared, would you like to allow questions now or later? I think we can allow questions in the last 10 minutes, and for now we do text, so we don't lose the momentum. But stay until the end, and we will allow you to come to stage, and you can ask questions, okay? So support early game, right? There's two types of vision that you can use as support early game. So one is vision to not get ganked, and that implies that you don't have a lot of prio. So for example, the usual one, let's say I'm playing blue side, right? The usual one will be like coming deep into here, and if you have a roam timer that you can leave your lane, this is the key thing. The more you can leave your lane, the better vision you can use. The more that you're getting pushed, and the more that you're fighting and you know getting poked, the least you can ward. This is why in high elo, you will see a lot of lower elo players that poke the enemy and win trades, but they don't do anything off of it. And I'm gonna show you an example now. Whereas in Halo, if you're poking and winning the lane a lot, it gives you whole control over the map. So for example, this one, yeah, the support wants to go deep ward this bush in the very edge possible. So why didn't I ward these two bushes, you might be wondering? Well, I don't need to. If you look at the map, tell me guys, how is the enemy gonna get into these two bushes without getting seen beforehand? So see how you don't need that, right? So here is another aspect that low elo players will do a lot, which I call redundant vision, right? One thing you will see a lot in low elo is that players will put words where they already have information. So for example, they will use these two words here and then they will put another one in this one or this one, like this, right? So this is super redundant, right? Because it's virtually impossible for the enemy to get into this bush without getting spotted previously. And you might say, well, what if they have like Kane or something going through this wall? Well, first of all, then you can ward this, right? And second of all, it's still kind of bad. I wouldn't ever ward like two pushes like this. Usually you don't want to ward redundant. Okay. So moving on, I'm going to show you an example of this master support that I was coaching, not using the proper wording early, right? So I have to get out of practice tool and open up the replay of this master student. Just give me 30 seconds. You can ask questions in the meantime. Right here. So this is a Pike master last split, and now he was in Diamond because of placements. Why do you see pro players score in the middle of oh, we're gonna go into adding control vision, okay? When the second half of this session, when we go over vision control, instead of this is early lane warding, okay? When we go over vision control, you will see why they ward mid lane. But good question, we will talk about that. Is there a way to quickly tell where enemy vision starts and ends? Well, yeah, I don't know if you were in the beginning of the session when I showed the word range. Were you there? Right, so that's one way. If you have a trinket yourself, you can put the thing there. Otherwise, another thing you can do, I will talk about wording in top lane soon, but another thing you can do otherwise is more like on the fly, depending on lane minions, etc. Well, that's a feeling you gotta get by being experienced enough at the game. One exercise you can do, and this might seem silly, but it's kind of a good exercise in my opinion, is like you come to practice tool like this, and you deactivate fog of war like that. See how the map is all like that, and you pull up MS Paint or you pull up the pen tool, and your choice to draw where you think the world vision ends, right? So in my opinion, this world vision ends around here, I would say, a bit like there, and like there, right? So that's what I think where it ends. So let's see if I'm right. So then you activate Fog of War again, and it's pretty much pixel perfect, as you can see, right? So this is because I know it by feeling. So then you practice this over and over. You can do this. If you don't have the good feeling of where vision ends, you should do this to practice, because it's something that you need to have a feeling of, like the range of the words, right? If I was playing the enemy Kindred here, you mentioned Kha'Zix. If I'm the enemy Kha'Zix, I would know that I can stand until here exactly. Although, if you don't know if this is word or not, you would stand a bit further, because this word is like, should be in the center, right? If it's in the center, it's different, right? But you can practice this over and over, and then you see other word and you mark again where the vision would end. So let's say we go here. Let's see if we find a word. Deactivate fog of war, and where's a word? There's a word. There's a word. Okay. And you write here where you think this word vision would end. For example, this word will never see this angle here. You can pass for free. This word probably the vision ends around there, and you can for sure pass through here. If you activate fog of war, if you activate fog of war, yeah, see how you can pass there because the vision ends. So this is just an exercise you can do to practice how much vision the words give, like the range. Okay, so let's talk about what this spike did wrong, okay? Remember when I told you that there's two types of vision in the lane? You can ward for the incoming ganks, or you can ward deeper if you have more prio, right? So what this spike ended up doing wrong, let me pull up my notes here. Okay, so this spike is winning lane, see? See how the enemy smolder is recalling 1 HP, etc., right? And the other thing is, we know the jungle started topside. The reason we know, I think the Darius was in the jungle and the enemy didn't leash, so we can safely assume they started topside. And the reason is because he doesn't want to get invaded. If you want the explanation, this is a master game. Usually Kindreds will start red into invading the Gromp, so I guess he wanted to prevent that. So if the enemy jungle is going bot, they can't gank us, right? Because we're going to push and recall. But what we can do, and this bike should have done, and this is really bad vision by the bike, we have lane prio, Smolder is not in the lane, and Kindred has 3 camps with red buff. So why not spam ping on my way in the jungle and go deep ward and even invade? So this is how you're not using vision to your advantage. Like, you have priority, you can put deep vision, right? He didn't ward in the lane yet, as you can see. So he can leave the lane and go put deep vision in the jungle. So where should he put it? Well, here. This is a really good spot. So he can see both camps being taken. But instead, what he does is stay in the lane for longer, which, by the way, doesn't do anything because Samira didn't need him. And then he recalls randomly, and instead of going to the jungle. So see, this would have been super free to go and invade with vision. And we see this a lot in this game. This is a master bike, but you will see over and over how he has free moments that he can go and put down vision, but he doesn't use those moments to put down vision. When you're playing support and even jungle, any lane really, one of the most important things is any downtimer that you have a little bit of tempo lead over your enemy, it's a downtimer that you can use to be useful. And recalling is not being useful. One thing you can do here to be useful is putting deep wards in the enemy jungle. Especially because this wave will slow push back into Samira. So Samira, when she comes back to lane, will have like a freeze here and she won't need pike at all. So it's fine to delay the pike recall, right? Let's say that you don't know that the Karthus started top and you go like, well, that's hindsight. I didn't know I could go ward deep. Okay, you would still go and ward somewhere here. So you can see him taking the Scuttle Grab in... Remember, the wards last 90 seconds, right? And Scuttle Grab spawns 330. So you will see the Scuttle Grab being taken in the next 90 seconds. For sure. and it will help a lot on your jungle. It will, by the way, Kindred will get a mark, so it will help whatever mark she might get. So we need to be useful with the vision, right? Planning ahead, controlling them up. And we have more examples now. That's I had another question about top lane warding. So basically, top lane right now, which I don't know why, by the way, they did this, but it's very asymmetric. So one of the top laners is pretty safe by warding only one side. Usually now in top lane, you only care about this bush, really. I guess they did it on purpose. I don't know really why. But if you're not warding this bush, what you want to do is ward deep in the jungle, right? So a lot of top laners think that, okay, if I ward deeper here or here, I will see the gank coming sooner. And that's not really how it works. So if you're not warding this bush and you're winning the lane, you might as well just go and ward deep. So if you're blue side top lane and you're winning the lane, don't even bother about warding this bush. What you do is you just go deep into the enemy jungle and you ward like one of the camps. You can ward this camp or this camp, or this here, any of them. So then you will see the jungle there even before the gank happens. So one thing you can do is, for example, leave a normal ward somewhere in the river, like for example here, not too far away, and then you can leave a pink ward in this one, and that's super free, as you can see. Because now, again, how is the enemy jungle gonna come into you without you seeing them? It's pretty hard, right? So you go in the top lane, basically the teaching is you ward this bush or you go ward deep into enemy camps. So if your red side is same thing, right? You ward like deep into one of these camps, like here over the wall, for example, and here one of these two, and then just come back to lane. You don't need to ward this bush if you're winning. You can ward deep. With the advantage of, remember one thing I told you is you shouldn't ward selfishly, right? If you're warding this bush, by the way, warding this bush is fine if the lane is even, like you have no other choice. But if you're winning, like this Spike was winning lane, but he's not using the fact that he's winning lane to ward more for the team. That's the thing. The more you're winning, the more you can conquer enemy territory deeper. So now it's the part that I wanted to talk about the most, which is how vision actually works and map control, okay? So we're gonna start with a metaphor, okay? Let's say that you have a plane, and if you're the airline, you want to know who got in the plane, right? And there's two ways to count how many people got in the plane or the information about those people. One way would be checking seat by seat and having the flight attendant check every seat. But the other way, which is way simpler, is to have only two entrances to a plane and just check those entrances, right? Which is better because like you don't have to move, it's less resources, and you can see everybody. The wording is the same. Low elo players do the equivalent thing of checking every seat. So what low elo players do on the ward is they want to check every bush that they want to see if enemies are there or not. So that's why you end up seeing a lot of redundant vision when seeing low elo games. For example, low elo players put a lot of wards inside of the dragon. Low elo players, when they're playing support, they come here, they ward over the wall inside the dragon pit, or they come here and leave a ward in the dragon. You see this a lot in low elo. High elo, you don't see a ward in the dragon pit like basically ever. It's really low elo. Why? Because you don't need to see the dragon. Because if you have a line of vision, we're talking about blue side here, if we are this person, if we have a line of vision, then there's no way the enemy can get to the dragon without getting spotted anyway. So why would you need to ward the dragon? It's redundant, okay? And it's much better because not only you see the dragon, but you see more things. So I hate when low elo players come. When I coach low elo supports, they always do the same. They come here, they leave a ward inside the pit, and they leave. Now this is a horrible ward because it will only see the enemy doing dragon once they started it, and only the dragon, nothing else. Now, if I put a line of vision, now there's no way that the enemy can go into the dragon without getting spotted. That's the thing. But it's even better because you will see them sooner, and you will see other things that are not the dragon. So you will also help your mid laner if he gets ganked. You will see this gank. So if you ward in lines, which is the most important part of this session, warding lines, it's the best way of warding because you will see everything and you will help everybody instead of warding for a specific purpose. So learn this, right? The difference between low elo warding and high elo warding is that in low elo, they ward with a purpose. or the word what they want to see. Okay. Whereas in Halo, we word controlling territories, right? So what do you mean by that? If you put this vision line here, you already control all of this territory. It's in your control. You know everything that will get into there. And the other thing is, you might ask me, okay, but coach, I see them going there, but I don't know if they started Drake or if they're going for the gank. And the answer is, doesn't matter. You know they're there. You want to know the overall territory that the enemy is at. You don't want to see exactly what they're doing, okay? Now, if you want to steal the drone and it's like low HP and you need to see at which point to jump into the Drake, sure, okay, that's different story, okay? But that's more like action wording, which is the type of wording that I didn't want to talk about. But this is the main thing, right? Like you gotta word lines. So now I'm gonna answer. So the conditions is that the line must be unbroken, right? So what we wanna have in our vision lines is no gaps. Because obviously, if we word a vision line, right? Let's say that we get a vision line that is something like let me think. Let's say you get this vision line, you put a word here, or even this one here, and then one here. This is a vision line, but it's unbroken, right? This angle is not worded. So that is less powerful, right? It's the equivalent of, in the plane metaphor, you have an entrance to a plane that nobody's checking. So you don't know what people are in the plane. You're only checking 2 entrances, not all 3, right? And the other condition is that you don't have enough words to make a line on the whole map, right? As a support or as a mid lane, top lane. So what you want to do is choose the quadrant that you're going to ward. And the way you choose the quadrant that you're going to ward is you press tab and look at the upcoming objective, right? So if dragon's coming up and void grafts are down, you're going to ward a line, right? Near the dragon. So you're going to ward this line. So there's 3 aspects basically. We're going to have our line unbroken. We're going to have our line in the right quadrant according to what's coming next. And the other thing that I didn't mention is the line can have a different depth, right? So you can have a line here, or you can have a line here, or a line here. So which one of these do we choose? Okay, so the line is going to be as deep as the enemy allows us, meaning the depth of the line is whatever lead you have, right? So if you're behind, if you're losing the game, you're going to have to keep your line closer to your side of the map. If you're winning the game and you're winning really hard, for example, how Pike won the lane early, he could have put vision deeper, okay? So that's the thing. Another thing you see a lot in kind of like football, yeah, I guess so. Well, you know, it's not kind of like football. You know what this is from? This is from military. This is like war. If you're winning the war, you push your line deeper, okay? It's that simple, right? And you control more territory. So what people don't understand, yeah, well, no, but it is. You laugh, but it is like that. Like what people don't understand is like, the job of the support is to push the vision line as far as the rest of the team allows you. So it's like to conquer the territories that the team already won, right? It's sort of like the way you should see it is like your teammates fight the war and the support goes after and plants the flag and says, this is now mine, okay? And you Sun Tzu, the art of war will be useful. Yeah, kind of like that. So let's say that you're winning more, okay? So I want to use, for example, I'm going to teach you some cheat word spots here that nobody uses. So let's say that you are wording behind the herald or void grafts. And this is the same as this, so it's whatever. I'm going to do it this side, but it's the same. So for example, one way low elo players will word, let's say that herald or void grafts are coming up and dragons down, right? So we want to have what quadrant we word? The top side. And let's say we're kind of even slash slightly ahead. Or let's say we have 20 seconds tempo ahead of the enemy, which means we can ward deeper, right? Because if we recall 20 seconds before the enemy, that means we have 20 more seconds to ward deeper. So that's a lead, okay? So where should we ward? Well, we can keep a line behind the herald somewhere. And then nothing can enter the herald ever without us knowing. And that's the beauty of it. You don't even have, like low elo players, what they do is like they come to void graph and they hit the void graphs with the, with the teammate. That's super bad, right? What you want to do is you go Voidgrafts, you put a vision line behind, and you get out. That's it. Yes, and like I promise you, the freaking brand support doesn't need your Leona Autodax on the Voidgrafts. Okay, they don't do anything. What he needs is safety, right? Like you need this vision line behind it, and then he's safe. He can take Voidgrafts, and you can get out. So how do we keep a vision line behind the Voidgrafts? Well, I have a ward spot that only I use, and it's really nice, which is you put one behind the bush like this, one here, and one here. So why? First of all, you can ward safely from over the walls without going into danger, right? You don't have to do this, which is really nice. Second of all, it's a complete vision line that is unbroken, so think about it. How can the enemy ever get to the Herald without getting spotted? It's impossible, right? So we can't. It's impossible, right? And third of all, the most broken thing about this is if the enemy has a pink ward here and a pink ward here, this is the vision of the pink ward. So our wards are out of the pink ward vision. They don't get seen. So this is really broken as well. Sometimes you don't have enough time to ward all of these. So for example, just putting only one here and only one here is still fine. You still have like a line. So it's still fine. You want to have lines. But be careful because these two might not see like this angle, for example, jumping over the wall, right? But it's a line. So now another student asks, why do people ward mid lane in Halo? And the word that he's talking about is like, for example, here, this Yasuo who is pushing the lane. Not in this level, but in higher level, like after level 6, they will start warding like here. Anyone knows why? Or if anyone knows. There's 2 reasons. Or 3 actually. Yeah, 3 reasons. See which side for roam. Yeah. So you will. So reason number 1 is that you will see a LeBlanc roaming. So that's why you do it only after 6 or so. Like right now she's not gonna roam, and you don't have a lot of wards. The other reason is that you will see them recalling also, if they recall. But the most important reason is neither of those. Okay, the most important reason you ward like that is so that you keep the vision line with the rest of your team. So this is why if you're seeing T1 play and they're playing blue side, then Keria will have like, I don't know, these 2 wards, for example, and then Faker will have this one here. So now we continue the vision line, and then maybe Owner will come in the jungle and put a pink ward here. So now we have a whole vision line. So anything that is behind this line is now yours, including the dragon, the scuttlegroves, right? So usually the ward in the middle of mid lane is to continue the unbroken chain of line of wards. And again, the beauty of this is that you conquer so much territory without having to put a lot of wards down. Like you don't need to ward here or here or here. You don't need any of that. You don't need this push. You don't need that. You don't need any of that. This would all be redundant, you see, because it's inside of this line. Anything that is inside the line, you don't need to worry about. The line doesn't have to be super straight, by the way. It's Pride Month, so... No, but jokes aside. The line doesn't have to be straight, so because you can have, for example, kind of like a curve. So you can have something like this and it's still fine. So you can have, for example, one word here, and another one here. This is not a perfect line. And yes, I did word in the lane, that's on purpose. You see how you continue the line, okay? It's a... I guess... Is this a line or a curve? It's whatever. So now everything inside of this is yours. So the way good vision words work, the way good wording works in like later stages of the game, is basically like you word the frontier, the edge, the border of the territory that you want to control. That's more or less how it works. By the way, for people clowning on me because of making the military reference, can anyone tell me what fog actually means? Fog of... Yeah, now you know why. See, I'm not crazy. I can't believe I let that slide. Yeah. So it is kind of like military thing. So now that we know this, I'm gonna show you more of this replay, right? We're gonna go to like 1530 here. By the way, I keep saying low elo, but this is like a master game and we see the same mistakes, right? So for example, right? Look at this spike, right? The spike just left the base. And first of all, This is bad wording, right? Because notice how even though we're winning 15-9, I'm gonna remove the chat. Even though we're winning 15-9, we're wording really close to our team. Notice how you should never have a situation in which your players are playing farther away than your line of vision. That's really dumb, right? Because A, they are unsafe now, and B, it means that if you are allowed to go this deep, why did you ward this shallow, right? If you're allowed to go this deep, the ward should be deeper. So usually the wards should be deeper than where the players are playing. Otherwise they're unsafe, the wards don't do anything, right? Like what is this ward doing? They're not doing anything because the players are deeper, right? So they're not doing anything. And second of all, we have redundant vision here. What is these two words doing? They're seeing the same thing, right? So instead, we should have a line here behind the herald. Doesn't matter specifically what pixel, just a line here, just have a line, okay? That's the beauty of it. Don't care about word spots, you care about lines, okay? Spots are not that important. The line is what matters. Um, so it's really bad, right? Like, and it's not like we couldn't predict that this was gonna happen because we know that Herald was up. So it's really bad that Pike is warding close to his team when Herald is up and he's winning. So these words, this is bad, but this line of vision, okay, ignore the words, just think of the line. This line of vision would only be understandable if we were losing. If this was, I don't know, 5-9, and we were getting destroyed, then this word of lanes is understandable. Why? Because our teammates can't play beyond this word anyway. Probably Tamkench will be pushed into his lane. And it would make more sense, right? Because now Tamkench will be pushed into here, so the line of vision would be the tower and this ward and this tower. So it would be this line of vision, right? But if we have vision here, remember, minions act like wards, they are vision. And we have this guy giving vision here, it makes no sense because now we have this line, which is unbroken. It breaks here and it breaks here. So we have like this, breaks, this, breaks. And then we have this line that is not doing anything. Right? So this is very poor vision by Pike. So do we have, somebody asked, do we have to have someone at those vision points to fight for them constantly? Uh, I mean, that goes more into like specifics of what's happening in the game. I mean, if you're even, you will contest more. But the idea is, if the enemy is constantly taking down your wards, you're probably warding deeper than you were allowed, right? The idea is that you ward deep enough where you can contest them. Like, for example, if you had warded this thing here, it's very contestable because the enemy top lane has no prio, he can't leave the lane, but Tamkench can leave the lane, right? That's why I say it depends on your lead. If they're always taking down your wards, one, you're probably warding like too deep, more than you're allowed. And two, also, it matters to... This is something Keria does a lot, which is like, he will be paying attention to where the enemy support walks, and then he will be always second to that place instead of first. So then he always takes the wards out. Actually, I had an example of this. Let me pull up my YouTube history. I saw a clip about this So there's a couple things. Because Keria does this a lot. It's related to this question. I think it's this game. Yeah, so if you see, one thing Keria does a lot is like, do you see how Rakan is here before Keria? If you, I know this looks like a one example, but this Keria does this a lot. I saw him talk about this in an interview, but I was trying to find it for today, but I couldn't find it. But I found this video, which is what he was talking about. He will usually put down words, then recall immediately after putting down the words and refresh them. So then when he's walking back, the enemy will take his words, but he's coming back with new ones and sweeper, and he will take them again. So here what's happening is like, that he wards, for example, recalls instantly after warding. Keria always recalls after warding. Then Rakan comes, takes the wards, but Keria is from base, and he can take them out and place new wards. And now Rakan doesn't have a sweeper until he backs again and gets new wards and all that, right? So then he wins the vision that way. So usually the way Keria wards is like, you ward first, instantly recall, then the enemy comes, but you come from base with everything up. And now if you clear the enemy wards and put new vision, the enemy can't clear it or put vision because he didn't recall and he didn't refresh anything. So this is usually a cycle that carry does. That's why he's arriving late, because he warded and recalled, right? Usually that's what he will do. I was trying to find this. He was explaining this against Sven in one of the games. It was one of the games that he like absolutely destroyed Sven like this. Coach, in very low elo, happens that I will keep ward line. We spot their jungler invade. I'm trying to read, sorry. We spot their jungler invade out, crossing lane, but nobody do anything and we still do. I refuse to believe that jungle invades are that big of a deal in very low elo. In my experience coaching like thousands of sessions there, I mean, if they don't move, you can't do anything, right? What you're asking there is like, if I ping and they don't move, what can I do? It's like nothing. Just keep playing your game. But I don't think invades are that big of a deal in low elo, by the way. The higher elo you go, the more invade matters. Does recalling often mean you need to sacrifice some roam time? I mean, it's not sacrifice. That is what the roam time is for, right? That's like asking, do I need to sacrifice my gold to ward? Do I need to sacrifice my gold to buy items? Well, no. Like, that's what the gold is for, right? Recalling is what the roam time is part of what the roam timer is for, yeah. Usually, Halo supports will roam from base, not from lane. Most Halo supports will roam from base, not like roaming from the lane. Usually you want to recall and then roam. But the way I was saying is like the ADC recalls, you go deep ward, then you recall, and then you roam. Yeah, if that's what you're asking, yeah. But this is why Carry is playing like Bard with like 20 million move speed as well, right? Anyway, but look at the bike, what he's doing here. We have this horrible vision line that we talked about. Oh, what happened? My replay crashed. Oh, okay. And look at this, right? First of all, do you see how... I don't know if this is Samira. Yeah, do you see how Samira is forced to burn her blue trinket here? Because she's the only one that's paying attention to it. Like, she shouldn't have been forced to do that, right? But then, look at what happens next, right? Why do we ward so shallow? Again, look at how much we're winning the lanes. Like, we have Prio here, we're fine here, we had Prio top lane, so why wouldn't we ward deeper, right? We can ward like this lane here. Again, this ward is not bad, it's just bad considering that we're ahead. Like, if you're ahead, you gotta play as if you're ahead. I'm always afraid when I tell this to my students that they will overcorrect and they will do something like, you know, oh, coach said that I should deep ward, and now they deep ward and you die 1v3 and you troll the whole game. I'm saying, if you have a lead and if you know that you can do it, right? Okay? Don't do it all the time. It's according to the lead you have. I mean, if you're the red team here, you are not gonna ward deep, obviously. You're losing. And I had another example of this. So this is another thing that supports do, which is not doing their job. So, for example, here, we win this fight, okay? So look at this, Pyke again. Horrible thing by Pyke again. Look at this, right? He has 2 wards up. And we won a team fight, right? So let me ask you something. If you're a support and you won a team fight, why are you hitting the mid lane instead of going deep ward after the fight? Your damage is low. You're a support. Your job is not to hit towers. You do your job. So after Pyke... Here, Pyke shouldn't be in mid lane, right? Pyke should have already gone into the enemy jungle, analyze which quadrant we want to ward. So for that we do this. Objective timers. And we see that Baron is 1 minute and Drown is 4 minutes. So, what is the quadrant? Topside. So what we do, and also we have camps up in topside and only 1 camp in both sides. So what we do is we would have gone deep into the enemy jungle and we can ward like here and here, for example, like 1 here and ward 1 here. So then you would see any angle that the enemy might take, right? See how I don't care about bushes that much. It's like this 2 is a really nice line that the enemy can't pass. But instead he's hitting the tower without attacks, right? And it's like, why? You're support. Yeah, he stays middle and do nothing. And now he baits his team to fight even. If he had gone into the enemy jungle, he could have gone into the enemy jungle, ping to retreat, the teammates back off, but instead he's staying middle and baiting them. Then he wins again. And what does he do with his teamfight win? He stays even deeper. Like, see how we have no vision control even though we're winning fights, right? In fact, look at this map, right? Even though we're winning by a lot, 22 to 13, and taking a lot of towers, all of our towers are alive. In the map, there's no lines of vision anywhere. So this is why when I was coaching this person, what I told him is, you're not playing support, you're playing Assassin Pike in the bot lane. Because the job of the support is to go and put down these flags, this territory, meaning like, this is now mine. But even though you're winning every fight, you're never marking territory as yours. Why is that important? Well, because if you had marked vision lines deep into the enemy jungle, then what it means is that the enemy can only play inside of this, nothing else. And you have all of this is yours. So it means every jungle camp is now yours, every objective, neutral objective is yours, you have more access to farm, the enemy has to play really like, in a tiny patch. But because Spike is not doing that, then the enemies can keep walking up. And yeah, I think that was the last point I had on this one. So let's see if we're missing anything else. Oh yeah, I want to leave you with a fun video of how to think about enemy vision, and then we go into Q&A. This is more or less how you think about enemy vision. The game from the Sorry, it has a watermark because it's an old video of mine. But one thing you can do to think about enemy vision is like play around it, right? So this is a Rek'Sai gank in mid. I'm the Amumu, right? And the Rek'Sai is ganking mid. So I don't know if you know that Rek'Sai only sees you if you move when she's borrowed. So we steal this, etc. We know that she's ganking mid, so we have tempo to steal the Raptors. And we don't move, right? So because we don't move, the Rek'Sai won't see us, even though we're stealing the Raptors. See? And what is really nice about this later is this, look. This is how you think about enemy vision, look. So the last thing Rek'Sai saw was us running to the left. But I know that the Rek'Sai true vision right now is like really close to her. And then her passive vision is like somewhere here. So I know that if I stop moving around here, she won't see me anymore. Right? And the last thing I did was showing that I was going to the left. So now she thinks I'm going to Scuttlegrab, right? And in fact, she pings the Scuttlegrab on the Warwick. Warwick has prio, so Warwick wants to get me on the Scuttlegrab. And now I start moving when I had the ward here earlier, so I start moving when she unburrows. And she never saw me, so see how she's pinging missing here in the Scuttlegrab? She's telling Warwick to go Scuttlegrab and thinks I'm there because that's the last thing I showed. And then I start moving only when she unburrows, so she doesn't see me anymore with the passive. So now we can go for the easy invade, super easy invade. And Warwick, look at Warwick what he did. He went all the way down to Scuttlegrab and then came back, so he's too late to get the red buff and we kill the Rek'Sai, right? But why am I showing you this? Because one of the most important things that matters is the enemy only has information of the last thing you did. So what's really important is something called fogging, which is the last movement. Okay, or direction you show before getting in the fog, okay? So what matters here is that the enemies instinctively, even if you're playing in bronze, the enemies will assume that you will continue whatever movement you were doing when you last got into fog. So what I did was I walked in this direction before going into fog and standing still. So Rek'Sai assumes that this is what's going to happen, right? So this is very important. Why? Because if you're playing jungle, for example, one thing that you want to do a lot is low elo junglers, what they are going to do is like they're going to gank a lane, and then after ganking the lane, they're going to do, for example, this into Scuttlegrab. But the enemies will see that you did this pathing, so they're going to assume that you went Scuttlegrab. Halo junglers, what we do is like after ganking a lane, we fog into the fog of war in a straight line, and then we go wherever we want to go, right? Why? So that the enemy doesn't know what you did after getting in fog. Did you recall? Did you go into a camp? We don't know. It's really important that you fog in a straight line into like hiding where your intention is. It's like a fake, right? You gotta fog. It's really important to fog. That's a fun clip just to end the session. Very important in my opinion, and some treat for junglers. Okay, so question time. If anyone wants to ask questions, you can come to the voice, raise your hand or whatever that's called. I know that's Song wanted to ask something, I think. There we go.
Hi.
Hi, hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. So like the thing I find like really hard like when I play in high elo is that I find that my vision got denied like all the time, and I have to like recall and refresh those like vision, and it just like it's just repetitive, and I just keep recalling and keep refreshing it. Like should I do that all the time, or like should I save it until
Again,
like
if you're most likely, if that's happening a lot, you're probably warding deeper than you're allowed. That's the point, right? You're probably warding in an
mm-hmm.
area that is super easy for the enemy to contest, right?
So like at that time, I should just save the word and just wait till like
No, no,
we
no, no,
take
no.
that.
Remember, are you looking at
Mhm.
my screen?
Yeah.
Remember that the lines of vision have a depth. You can ward more shallow near your team or more deep into the enemy. What I'm saying is that you're probably picking a line of vision that is more deep than you're allowed to. You're probably warding, like, for example, here, but your team is slightly losing with no prio in any lane, so they take all the wards. So you should have instead warded a line more close to your team.
Uh.
You're probably warding
Um.
deeper than you're allowed to.
So like, what if like two teams are pretty much even? Then like maybe like around like 15 minutes, and me and my AD carry are in mid, and we're trying to fight for the river vision control,
You
and
get
like
prio
sometimes.
first. Yeah, if you get prio, you're gonna get the control. That's why prio is so important, right? Because whoever gets prio, so if you get the prio here, let's say that your blue team for this,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So if you get the prio first, then you can go here toward, whereas the guy has to go all the way around and also be on a choke point. You have way better. Also, you have way better like in and out, really, really free from this ramp. Uh,
Uh.
and also
Okay.
because you went deep, what happens is that your ADC can follow you now because he finished pushing, but the enemy ADC has to stay mid to catch one more wave. So now you can 3v2 this, right? That's why you wanna always
Mm-hmm.
get prio first. Prio unlocks the map. Without getting prio, there's no vision possible. Like without getting prio, all of your vision is gonna be like contested and defensive. You need to get prio.
Okay. And oh, another thing, like I noticed that when you say about like the pike, when like he was like taking the second turn in mid,
Yeah,
you he should just go like top and more top side, like
yeah.
play some support before like he recall. But like sometimes I just don't feel like safe to just leave my teammates to take the turns there. Like I just feel like there would happen a fight there when I leave there. So
Yeah,
is
I know that you
it
feel that
really?
way, but it's a feeling that you gotta get rid of because in that example, for example, it was the opposite. Because Spike was there, is that
Mm-hmm.
they fought and died. Because he baits them. If you leave, they will see that they're like one man down and you ping them off, they might retreat more. Like this is what I call the low elo ARAM that you see is a lot in low elo. Like you will see I will ask Castion, why are you mid lane right now? Like minute 20? And they will tell
Mm-hmm.
me, well, I'm afraid that my teammates will fight if I'm not mid lane. But it's the opposite. The reason they fight is because you're mid lane. Like if you don't go mid lane, then the enemies are gonna send somebody to bot lane too, and then there are gonna be less people in mid lane. So like it's the low elo ARAM. Like you go mid because you're afraid, but that's what causes people to fight in mid in the first place, right?
Yeah, kind of, but like, well, people are not that smart all the time. I feel like.
Well, but you can't play like that's a non-starter, right? Because I run into this a lot when I coach people that they always ask me like, what do I do if, and then they describe something really troll by their team is like nothing. The answer is nothing. Okay, sure, I can always give you the right play to do, and you can always
Mhm.
answer what if insert team inting, and my answer is okay, sure, but it's a game of statistics. The way I'm saying, I promise you, it's gonna work more time than staying mid. You can always
Okay.
find a case that you will tell me, well, my teammate inted here and fought mid without me. The point in League is to do the highest percent chance of success. Like you can always have, like, for example, right? In the time that I was telling you that the pike should have warded deep into the enemy jungle, you would have asked me, oh, what if my ADC dives 1v2 and suicides when I go ward the enemy jungle? The answer is, okay, sure, you're gonna lose if that happens, but like, it's less likely, right? You wanna
Yeah.
increase your chances of winning.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people play with this insecure mindset of not going for the right place because they're afraid of the worst possible outcomes. And it's like, just go for the highest percent chance, and if shit happens, shit happens. You can't do anything about it.
Okay.
You gotta be
Okay.
more
Thank you.
confident to do in the right place. Especially if you ping. Like, if you ping, you shouldn't be too afraid. Pinging is so
Yeah.
important as a support.
Yeah. I'll pay my teammates next time.
Yeah. Before I take more questions, I want to shout out Jared. We can shout out the coaching now before anyone else leaves.
Yep.
All right.
I was
So
thinking of the same thing. Yeah.
yeah, you can do it for me, so I don't shout myself out.
Okay, sure. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, we're still doing the questions, but for now, I wanna show you guys what we're doing here. If you could stop your screen share for a second, Saji, that'll be
Yeah,
great.
that's how it works.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll be the coach now for a sec. Basically, we at League Mentor, we do these lectures. We do monthly free lectures, which means every month we do a free one, so people can get a taste of what we're doing here. But we also do premium ones every weekend, which means like if you sign up for a month, you get 4. And there's also a lot of other stuff like free clip reviews. You can also ask questions. There's
And you get
discounts for
discount codes.
one-on-ones.
Yeah, you get discount codes
You get
for my
discount
coaching
codes for
sessions.
one-on-one sessions.
Yeah,
Exactly, and much more. So I definitely, you guys should check out the premium page here, and also our coach Sagittarius. He's a goat. He has very many questions. Not questions, sessions. So he has very many sessions coached. He's
I'm a
really
philosopher.
popular on Fiverr. Yep.
Yeah, so I coach all 5 lanes, by the way, so feel free, and any elo.
Yep, exactly.
Again, I do this for a living, so you can check my links in my bio, the link tree. I've done around almost 3,000 by now. And yeah, I do coaching almost 4 sessions per day, so you might get coaching the next day if you order very often. So it's all in my bio, guys, if you click on my profile. And Coach Sachi in all the socials. So yeah, we can keep with the questions now. Anyone else wants to come on stage and ask anything?
Also, you can talk with Sagittarius for free. If you go into talk with coach and click this button, leave a message.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It'll create a unique chat message. So if you have any questions before like coaching, you can message him there. All right, back to the questions.